welcome back. This is Dave Tubman, the author of the book Jimmy Hoffa Is Missing-The Gap. I'm going to talk very lightly tonight, and I'm going to let my mom do the talking. I just want to give you a little bit of introduction. This woman was born in 1917, and this is 2009, when I finally, after speaking with Barbara Ann Crancer and finding out the FBI didn't do as they promised, Frances, of telling the story to the Hoffa family, you might say I was fed up. So I took the video of my mother sitting indoors, but first I added this to the original video clip because she talks about Darby's, where my dad had worked and where he had run into the mafia at one point too close. And so she gives a little insight there as far as the car, his job, and the boss. Then when we go inside is where I checked for her alertness. She was approaching dementia, but she wasn't in it so far that she could not remember things. She might not know the year, her own birthday, but she knew my birthday, she knew my brother's birthday, she knew my sister's birthday. So I just want to let you know that this was, you can tell when you listen to her, just give her grace. She's 92. When I heard the story, it was very fresh. And so I gave you the details first, and then I told you about the woman and the man, her husband, my dad. So I wanted you to know about the people before you heard this, not just hear a story from an old lady, an old 92-year-old woman. This is a woman with experience, sincerity, and just like my dad, no BS. So enjoy the video, and I'll speak briefly afterwards.
Remember when Sam Boesky gave Dad that 1959 black Lincoln Continental? That was a nice car, wasn't it?
Yeah, it didn't have too much mileage on it, I don't think.
No, it had white leather seats.
Yeah.
Fins on the back. It had fins on the back. It was, you know, an old enough Continental, not big fins, but, you know, the little fin. Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what it looked like.
That was Dad's favorite car, wasn't it?
I don't know. He was tickled to death to get it. He couldn't afford to buy a car.
Right.
Boesky took a liking to it. My big dad worked for Boesky. He took a liking to it and gave it to him. And there was some other man that went to work for Boesky. Dad was already working for him. But then another man came in and went to work for Boesky. And he tried to take Dad's job away from him.
Oh.
And he even tried to get the car
Oh.
that Boesky gave Dad.
Uh-huh.
He tried to work his way in
Sure.
so he could have all those things that Dad had. Boesky took a liking to Dad and gave him. He tried to get his job.
Right. I remember Dad coming home one day, and he said he stopped at the gas station with that car, and the guy put gas in the tank. He says, "I can't believe it." He says, "Did you know your gas tank was wired to explode?"
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, somebody, and they think that guy did it that wanted the car.
Well, I'm not sure, because I remember Dad also said he switched juice companies, and remember he thought it was the mafia did it because they were resentful about him changing suppliers. A lot of the restaurant suppliers in those days were, you know, actually run or, you know, operated or controlled, you know, by some of the mafia figures. Didn't they used to come in there or something?
Into Darby's?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's how Dad got to know who the mafia was.
Yeah.
When he worked at Darby's.
Remember where you and Dad lived?
Bloomfield Terrace is where we lived.
Right, on Woodward.
Well, that was just a little section of houses in there. They called them Bloomfield Terrace.
Right. They were townhomes.
Yeah,
You had an upstairs and downstairs.
right.
And I lived with you there for a little bit. Do you remember that?
Yeah, when you first got married,
Right.
before you went to California.
That's right.
We were going to Helen, but that's where we lived.
Yeah, you lived on Bloomfield Terrace.
We were on our way over to Helen's and Shot.
Did they call that Pontiac or did they call that Bloomfield Township?
It was Bloomfield Township.
The what? That's what I thought. That's why it was called Bloomfield Terrace.
So, but in that section up in there, close to Bloomfield,
Right.
it was Bloomfield. First it was Bloomfield. Then closer into Pontiac, there was a section called Bloomfield Township.
Right. And that's where
And
you lived.
that's where we lived.
Right.
Because some people referred to it as Pontiac.
Right, because it was on the way
But
to
it wasn't Pontiac, it was Bloomfield Township.
Right.
And right here was Bloomfield.
Mm-hmm. Did you know when I told you that story that Dad, when Sam Boeski gave him that Lincoln Continental, and Dad pulled into a gas station shortly after, that the gas station attendant told him, "I can't believe it, but did you know that your gas tank had a fuse in it? It was supposed to explode when you started your car." Did you hear Dad talk about that?
Yeah, I knew that. I've heard about it.
And Dad told me it was because he either someone thought it was Sam Boeski's car, or Dad changed juice companies, and of course the mafia had control of some of those restaurant supply companies. I think the way it was supposed to happen was when he stepped on the accelerator or turned the ignition, the fuse would take the electrical charge or something into the gas tank, but that fuse had fallen out.
That would blow out.
So
blow up.
otherwise, you're right, the car would have blown up.
The car would have blown up.
But he never did find out if it was intended for his boss or if it was because he changed juice companies or garbage companies, something
Well,
like that. He
Dad-
never did find out.
Dad always thought it was because it was Darby's car.
You mean Boeski?
Boeski's car.
Yeah.
Well, Dad worked at Darby.
Yeah.
He always thought it was because it was Boeski's car.
So,
That's what they all told him,
right.
that discovered it, knew it was in there.
But it was right after he
It was right
changed
after he got
companies.
the car.
Yeah, but it was also right after Dad said he changed like juice companies. And you
Yeah.
know, the restaurant suppliers were all different companies, and if you didn't use one, you stood a
Oh,
chance
yeah,
of.
Yeah, there was some controversy
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
Dad drove the car, used the car after
Yeah.
that.
I know,
We
it was
had
his
the
favorite
car.
car. It was a '59 Lincoln Continental.
Yeah, we drove
With,
that car
white
for a
leather
long
seats.
time after that.
Yeah, I know.
After
I
they
drove it.
discovered all that stuff in it.
Right. Whatever happened to Darby's, do you know?
Huh?
Whatever happened to that restaurant, do you know?
Oh, I don't know. You know, they opened another place out in Southville.
Hmm.
That place was in Detroit.
Right.
It was still Detroit. It was Northwest Detroit, but it was Detroit. And when Dad first took the car, I wouldn't ride in it for a long time because Dad told me the story that people had told him the car could be bombed anytime, could be fired, or could be wired anytime.
He goes up inside the car, and then so no one sees it.
He showed it to me.
Did he?
Yeah, and I came out of the back seat
Yeah.
and went down into the gas tank
Oh yeah.
under the car.
Hmm.
Well, it was under the back seat. Didn't come up out of the back seat. It
Yeah.
was up under the back seat.
Oh, I see.
A wire. It was a wire. And after they found it,
Right.
it was still in the car,
Hmm.
but it wasn't attached.
Right.
And I mean, it had been disconnected everywhere when I saw it.
First, you called it just a luxury car. You didn't know what kind of car it was, but you said it was a maroon-colored car. And Dad was driving.
And they turned in to the Raleigh house.
Yeah, but before that, they pulled up next to you. You said.
They pulled up next to us and looked us over.
Oh.
And Dad recognized them as being the mafia, I guess.
But he knew who the driver was. You said.
Well, Dad did.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
From
Dad told me.
right. Was that one
But
that you
Dad
said
knew
was
him because they used to frequent Arby's.
right?
That's how he knew. He didn't know who the mafia was. He knew all those people because they all went to Darby.
Mm-hmm.
And he was friends with them because they did frequent his business.
So Dad actually
Dad managed that place.
right.
He greeted them when they came in and seated them. That's all he knew of.
So that's why he knew who was driving.
Yeah. But he didn't know them well enough to go sit down and have a conversation with them and
Right.
stuff like that.
Did Dad meet Chucky O'Brien? Is that who was driving the
When
car?
they came into the restaurant, yeah, he greeted them because
Right.
he knew who he was introduced to.
You saw these guys in the back seat, but you didn't see Jimmy Hoffa in the back seat, right? You just saw two men. You couldn't see their faces. So you
No,
don't.
but we knew somebody was back there.
But I mean, you don't know if it was Jimmy Hoffa or not.
I said to Dad, I said, Dad, there were two men bent over something on the back.
Right.
And I said to Dad, I said, they got a big old dog or something back there in the back seat.
Right. And they were
And they're
struggling.
trying to keep it, they're trying to hold it down on the floor. And Dad evidently recognized him as being the mafia.
I see.
Because being in the business, he would know.
Right.
He said, he sped up, Dad did. He said, that's no dog. And he sped up. I said, what are you doing? He said, getting away from there.
Uh-huh.
I said, getting away from who? He said, that's the mafia. He said, that's no dog. I said, well, what is it? He said, who knows? But there was two of them,
Yeah.
two guys in the back.
Right.
We didn't see their faces. We just saw their heads.
Oh, I see.
And they were bent over. And I said to Dad, of course, Dad couldn't see as well as I could. He was driving the car, and I was over here, and they passed on this side.
Yeah.
I said, you know what? I said, they got some big old dog or something in the back seat on the floor back there.
Mm-hmm.
And Dad looked over, he says, oh, don't look at him, that's mafia. Don't look at him, that's mafia. I said, but they got some big old dog or something. He said, turn around, don't look at him.
Uh-huh.
And Dad sped up to try to get by and go.
Uh-huh.
And then when we got away, we left him in the back and just got away. Dad said, that's the mafia, don't staring at them.
Yeah.
I said, well, they were looking at us as hard as we were looking at them.
Right.
Of course, Dad didn't see them do it.
Mm-hmm.
He don't want to hear that.
That's all right. Then you said they sped up.
Judy don't want to hear all that stuff. What'd you say?
I said, then you said they sped up in the car
Oh, well, Dad
and passed you.
Dad sped up. But they looked, when they slowed down, when they got up,
Mhm.
they came around us, and they slowed down and rode right even with us,
Uh-huh.
and looking. That's all they did was look.
Yeah.
And then they sped up.
Well, so they went in front of you and crossed over?
We would all both going the same way,
Right.
but it was one of those, you were a telegraph road.
Telegraph has 3 lanes going each
Yeah,
direction,
yeah, 3 lanes.
but there's a median in between.
All right, we were right here.
Next to the median?
No, actually, we were on the inlet. They were they were behind us
Uh-huh.
at first
Mhm.
for a while.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, all this activity, and they kept coming up beside us and looking over in their car.
Uh-huh.
Then they'd back up. We'd go, Dad was the same pace, but they'd slide back.
Uh-huh.
And then every now and then they'd come up and look over again.
Huh.
And there was activity in the car.
Yeah.
And I said, Dad, there's something going. They've got something down in the back seat of that car. It looks like a big old dog that they're trying to hold down on the floor. And Dad said, don't look at him. I said,
Right.
no, what do you mean don't look? He said, that's the mafia, don't look at him. And Dad recognized me. being in the business, I guess you know who they were.
Mhm.
Maybe they've been in Darby's, who knows?
Mhm. Did he actually say that that's Chucky O'Brien, or did he?
Not at that time.
Mhm.
But he said, Dr. Hoffa, don't look at him.
Mhm.
And I'm trying not to look at him, trying to see what's going on in the first and not look at him at the same time, which is impossible.
Mhm.
And Dad says, don't look over there.
Right.
Finally, you're very determined. And that kind of made me think, well, there must be a reason.
Mhm.
So I try not to look, but not trying to side glance it. That's why I saw more than he did.
I see.
I kept on looking after that. I got curious.
So then they pulled up in front of you.
Well, they'd slide back, and then the finally came up and stayed beside us for a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Then they went on ahead. Then they speeded up. And that's when they got in front of us. And then ahead was that place that they used to go to.
Raleigh House.
Raleigh House, yeah. There was a medium in the middle and
Right.
another road going this way, one going this way.
Yeah.
We were going down that way,
Mhm.
towards the Raleigh House.
Right. Mhm.
You had to cross the medium to go into the Raleigh House.
Mhm.
And when they got ahead of us,
Mhm.
Dad slowed down, they got ahead of us. And they went across that medium.
You said they pulled
We
across,
talked about it earlier today.
but you were a little mixed up earlier because of your medicine.
Oh.
I wanted to find out if you did remember anything.
Oh, I remember.
So they sped up and got in front of you and turned into the Raleigh House.
Then they turned left.
Yeah.
You know what, do you understand? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mhm.
They turned left.
Right.
Across the median, which is a grassy area,
Mhm.
across the other side of the road that went the opposite way.
Right. Telegraph.
Right, it was the other side of Telegraph. We were going this way, they
Right.
were going this way.
Well,
And then right over there on that side of the Telegraph was the Raleigh House.
Right.
And there was a back road that went around the back of the Raleigh House.
Right.
Remember that?
I think the lot went behind it and on both sides.
Right.
They had a driveway on both sides.
Right, and this car went over, and then when you went by the Raleigh House, the road extended beyond the Raleigh House
Right.
about 3 car lengths, 2 or 3 car lengths.
Mhm.
Sometimes you'd see 2 or 3 cars there.
Right.
Sometimes there wouldn't be any there. But this car that turned went a little past the back and was
Sticking out.
2/3 of the way out. It was enough to recognize it being the same car.
Okay. Mhm.
But we didn't see the people getting out.
Yeah.
The car was there.
Right. And where was, you told me that there was
We
a,
were behind them.
yeah, but
We didn't turn in.
you said that,
Dad slowed down to see if the car came around. He suspected something too.
yeah, there was something funny because you and Dad saw there was also someone else there, right? There was, in the parking lot when they arrived, like,
There was somebody sitting in the parking. Yeah, somebody was back there already.
yeah,
Another car was sitting there waiting, evidently for them. And they pulled up right in back of the other car. We saw both cars.
mhm. Was there also a garbage
Of course,
truck?
we didn't know at that time.
Was there also a
Oh
garbage?
yeah, there was a garbage truck. Oh no, that's right. Over in back,
Uh-huh.
up on the side, in that other private driveway, there was a garbage truck sitting there.
Uh-huh.
Great big garbage truck. A city garbage truck.
Uh-huh.
But now, we didn't know anything about that
Right.
at that time.
Mhm.
The next day, the papers were full.
I see.
Dad said, you see what the headlines are? I said, yeah, well, what's that got to do with anything? Well, what do you think we were looking at yesterday? You don't recall, you refresh my memory.
Right. Uh-huh.
You think that's really what was going on? He said, well, what else?
Uh-huh. But you don't
Then
think
we
he...
realized we saw the whole thing. Except we didn't actually see them abducting anybody and put them in the car.
Right.
But we saw the cars.
Well, when did Dad say he knew that was Chucky O'Brien driving the car?
Well, Dad told me that when you passed us on the road.
Oh, okay, because that I was a little confused. Did he tell you
Well,
that
I
time?
didn't know.
or
I
what?
didn't know who Chucky O'Brien
Well, sure,
was.
I know.
I said,
But
Dad
that's-
says, I kept looking at him. I says, that guy keeps on looking over here at us all the time. He said, don't look at him. It's Chucky O'Brien. I was like, who the heck is Chucky O'Brien? He said, he's a mafia. Don't look at him.
Because I didn't know if he said him by name or not at that
He's a
time.
mafia.
But
He's
did he?
part of the mafia.
Oh, okay, so he that's why I asked if Chucky O'Brien recognized Dad from the
I
Darbies.
don't know, but they recognized him or not.
He might have. He just might have. Otherwise, why would he be looking so hard?
Because I kept on staring at him. He was looking us over, same as we were looking at him over. But Dad told me who they were.
Raleigh House.
Raleigh House, yeah, the Raleigh House. You remember all those things?
Well, Mom, you told me the whole story.
Yeah, but I don't even remember some of those places.
I know, but I'm trying to give you key words that will bring the memory to you.
What? You know, it would have been to his disadvantage to stick his neck out at that time.
Right.
Anybody would have been a fool to do that.
I guess.
Well, I know. I know how serious it was. That was pretty serious business.
So you don't think Dad would have maybe had second thoughts and maybe
No.
called the FBI and...
I don't think so.
No?
No, because Dad knew how serious it was.
Uh-huh.
It would have been very serious for anybody. I don't know who they were. And Dad was an innocent bystander.
Uh-huh.
There's no reason for him to stick his nose in there and
Yeah.
take a chance on getting clipped off himself.
Uh-huh.
I think he did the right thing. He could have been killed if he did something like that.
Mhm.
Just for the information they thought he had,
Mhm.
if nothing else.
Right.
And they don't fool around.
Mhm.
That's why they got their reputation that they got.
Mhm.
They do not fool around. They don't take chances
Yeah.
with anybody. And Dad knew that. Would you want to hear all about it if you didn't know anything about it? Only reason I'm talking about it is because I remember.
Well, of course you do.
But I mean, it's nothing to sit and keep talking about.
When I talked to you earlier, you were on your medication and you couldn't... You didn't-
You're trying to see how my medication is working.
Earlier, your medication was causing you not to remember as much.
Do I remember more now?
Yeah, you're a whole lot more alert now.
A lot more.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I see. Is that what you're comparing?
Yes, I am.
I
It also tells me which medicine is doing the confusing.
Is that that's what you're looking for? I thought you just wanted to know to hear. I thought it was thrilling you to hear the story over and over.
I've heard the story before. I have heard it
I
before.
thought, well, why is he getting such a kick out of that thing? I thought it was like horrible.
It is horrible, but it also tells me by what you remember, you know, what has affected your memory. And part of that is the medication that you've had to be on because of your blood pressure.
Well, how'd I do?
Better this time than you did earlier.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Is that what Julie's upset about? She knows you're testing her, huh? Yeah. I'll cook it.
Oh, I've had enough. Well, I think.
I had forgotten all about that.
Well, I know, but that I asked you about it earlier, and the thing was
It
that
happened so long ago. I'm surprised I remember as much as I do.
Do I look ready?
well, it was a big event to you.
Anytime you find the